I'm going to watch Faithlore, the tale of the Gorgon sisters. So let's check it out.
Among the indigenous Olympian gods of Greece are three young sisters, born into the world as idols from human worship, specifically the yearning hearts of men. Stheno the Strong is the eldest sister, a lady with an elegant demeanor, overflowing grace, and wisdom in her words and actions. She is considered the ideal woman, so precious that men who hear her call their name lose themselves in passion, swearing eternal loyalty to her. The second daughter is Uriel, the Far Flyer, a lady with a carefree demeanor, overflowing smile, and the essence of purity in her words and actions. She is considered the ideal girl, so precious that men who hear her call their name swear to protect her at the cost of their own lives. The youngest is Medusa, with hair like silk of the Far East, and skin white like freshly fallen snow. Unlike her elder sisters, she is born with a flaw that allows her to grow older and taller. Nevertheless, she amasses followers who love and worship her. In compensation for this flaw, she can be more vicious than a desert sandstorm with great supernatural strength. She possesses Cybele, the mystic eyes of petrification, which upon visual contact turns enemies to stone. As such, Medusa finds herself protecting her older sisters, who lack such talents. They are merely frail girls, with immortality and eternal youth. Even this, however, is considered precious. Normally, Olympian gods require golden apples to halt their aging, and yet the sisters never grow old. This draws in the ire of Athena, who, jealous of their eternal youth, claims their gift makes them monsters. Strangely, rather than taking her anger out on the older sisters, Athena sets her sights on Medusa. She claims Medusa's failed birth, her aging and physical strength are even more monstrous. Athena takes away the faith of Medusa's followers and exiles her to the Shapeless Isle, a land beyond the waters of Okeanos, with a curse destined to gradually turn her into a hideous monster, Gorgon. There, Medusa is isolated, lonely from the island's vacancy. Still, she resigns herself to this fate, hoping humans never come to the island. Athena has branded her a monster, but hurting others is the last thing she wishes to do. While they escape Athena's wrath, Stheno and Uriel care for Medusa, enough to remain with her on the island. None of them are monsters, not yet anyway, but rumors still spread of Gorgon, enticing warriors to take up their swords. With her mystic eyes, Medusa protects her sisters from invaders, adventurers championing their bravery to try and rescue the goddess idols. This love the twins receive from humans is dangerous. The bravado they bring is destined to be the same force that violates their chastity. The men's relentless adoration proves to be more dangerous than their weapons. When the twins are about to give in, Medusa does not. Thus, none who come to the island return, all frozen to stone by Medusa's eyes. Medusa herself is willing to accept human hatred, but fights in order to ensure the safety of her sisters, resulting in ruins covered in petrified corpses. Her sisters warn her never to take pleasure in killing humans, so she instead admires their strength. Practically speaking, however, the dead are but statues to be utilized. Making the most of her banishment, she lives an otherwise humble life, using the statues for mundane tasks, like hanging out the laundry. Stheno and Uriel rely on their sister, but show their gratitude through ridiculing her, berating her every mannerism, and forcing her into submission. Beyond their appearance of purity, Stheno and Uriel are actually quite devious. Stheno is the embodiment of laziness, cruel enough to frighten the hounds of hell. Uriel demonstrates the wildest mood swings, and is sly enough to misbehave and not get caught. Once praised for their love of humans, the twins secretly loved humans as toys to embarrass and manipulate. Their gestures of sending men on adventures were actually chances to watch men struggle to their deaths. The twins would also torment Medusa by sucking her blood through devilish kisses. They force Medusa to wear their hand-me-down clothing and constantly complain about the hideous statues. When the three of them are invited to a banquet hosted by Poseidon, the older sisters tear the scales from Medusa's dress and deny her the chance to attend, all while insulting her height and incompatibility with men. They claim Medusa is so large that even Atlas would strain himself to lift her. Even her only salvation, the Pegasus Bellerophon, gifted to her by Poseidon, is shamelessly borrowed by her sisters. Again, they shame her body, claiming she is too large to ride her own Pegasus without tiring it. Through the cracks of this abusive relationship, however, one can see a sincere love between the three sisters. As much as the twins tease Medusa, they adore her and the sweet taste of her blood. While they do not admit it aloud, they are grateful to have Medusa's affection. In return, Medusa loves her elder sisters, wishing for them to remain safe and happy. Their questionable peace on the island remains, with Medusa managing to stave off her transformation into the Gorgon beast. This cannot last, however. One day, as Stheno returns home to share a gift with Medusa, she finds Medusa bearing a ghastly demonic face, devouring men as cursed nourishment. From here on out, Medusa begins to bypass paralyzing men in favor of brutally eating them, and each time she grows more ferocious. The purple snakes of her hair blacken with the staining of blood. Deep down, she feels remorse, but cannot bring herself to stop. As Medusa devours the blood of hundreds of invaders, her sisters begin to genuinely fear her. In shame, Medusa retreats deeper into the ruins, not wanting the twins to see her changing body. She grows heavier, with claws at her fingertips, covered from head to toe in gore. The strength she pursued to protect her sisters winds up being their demise. When Stheno and Uriel come upon Medusa, now transformed fully into the Gorgon, they tremble in fear, grasping each other's hands, yet they refuse to abandon her. After all, she had protected their purity, and they hold true to that blessing by accepting their fate as two more sacrifices in the Gorgon's wake. Stheno wishes the three of them could have lived together on the island forever. She opens her mouth to admit, "Well then, goodbye my cute Medusa. Since this is the end, I'll just let this slip. You know, we were the ones who admired you." Uriel, who had hoped the three of them could have escaped the island and return home, raises her head as the Gorgon charges forth. Deep within the Gorgon's mind, Medusa screams to try and stop herself, but cannot. Countless snakes consume the twins. As though crushing ants, the monster grinds them to a pulp. The two beautiful idols are devoured, becoming the monster's flesh and blood. Medusa is no more, and only the Gorgon remains. Athena's curse has reached its tragic conclusion. The only salvation left for the sisters is to be put to rest by the blade. Thankfully, such hope is in sight. Perseus, the son of Zeus and future king of Mycenae, declares that he shall bring back the head of the Gorgon monster to prove his bravery and save his mother. He ventures to the Shapeless Isle and into the Titan's ruins, equipped with noble phantasms gifted to him by the gods. Among them are his mirror-like bronze shield, the snake hunter's sword, Arpe, and a bag to contain the monster's head, Kibises. Proceeding through the dark, stale, blood-stained ruins, Perseus shivers and fears for his life. When sensing the monster's presence, he resorts to viewing his surroundings only through the shield, so as to not make eye contact and become one of the petrified corpses around him. The Gorgon comes, plowing through the stone statues, intimidating her foe. Suddenly, Perseus is fighting not for victory, but for survival. He is barely able to dodge the monster's arms with the flight of his winged sandals. Tired of chasing her prey like a bothersome insect, she unleashes Breaker Gorgon, the self-sealing Temple of Darkness, a great magical barrier that seals the world within her mind, stripping enemies of their strength. Regrettably, this is precisely what Perseus has been waiting for. Kibises is not a mere bag. It is a glorious weapon that inverts space. When used to counter Breaker Gorgon, Perseus is able to seal the monster in her own Temple of Darkness. Caught within her own trap, Gorgon is forced to nightmarishly reflect upon herself the way she was as Medusa, seeing just how low she has fallen. She recalls her sisters. For all the torment they had put her through, they were also beloved to her, and yet she devoured them uncontrollably in her transformation. While the Gorgon is caught in despair, Perseus swings his sword and tears through her neck. Ultimately, It is her own reflection that becomes her downfall. Under normal circumstances, only Medusa herself is compatible with the Throne of Heroes. While she enters the 5th Holy Grail War of Fuyuki as a Rider-class servant, the potential incineration of humanity in another universe presents an occasion for the other Gorgon sisters, including the Gorgon herself, to manifest as heroic spirits. The demon god Hivemind Getia attempts to reshape humanity through incineration, placing self-made grails into points in history. The Chaldea Security Organization is established to prevent this by recovering those grails, and sends their master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, to various singularities to resolve them. As it turns out, the 3 Gorgon sisters are summoned in various forms to 3 of these singularities. In Septem, Stheno is summoned as a free servant off the shores of Gallia. Despite being a goddess, she is still one of the weakest beings in the world, normally unable to fight. While most heroic spirits are limited by their class, Stheno actually finds herself stronger as an assassin servant than she was in life. Her noble phantasm, Smile of the Stheno, Goddess's Smile, is the sublimation of her goddess allure. Her sorrowful gaze turns to sharp blades, and her voice drips with poison. Striking an adorable pose, she makes a heart symbol with her hands, enrapturing and slaying her male pursuers. Regardless, being stranded on an island reminds her very much of her time on the Shapeless Isle, and she yearns for the kind of protection she had from Medusa. Thankfully, she meets up with both Elizabeth Bathory and Tamamo Cat, 2 other rogue servants who choose to team up with her. Thus, when Ritsuka arrives on the island searching for a god, Stheno reveals herself. She tricks Ritsuka into venturing into a cave and fighting a monstrous chimera, and later tests them in full-on combat. It isn't until Ritsuka proves their resolve by striking down Caligula that Stheno trusts Chaldea with the location of the United Roman Empire's base. With this knowledge, Ritsuka is able to retrieve the Grail, causing the singularity to disappear. Uriel, on the other hand, is found summoned into the Okeanos singularity, where she is first pursued by the pirate Blackbeard for her nubile beauty. Much like her twin sister, Uriel seeks protection from others, despite being more powerful than before as an archer-class servant. Her noble phantasm, Eye of the Uriel, Goddess's Gaze, captivates men with the charming strike of a heart-shaped arrow fired from her golden bow. Stheno can't help but criticize this noble phantasm as a blatant knockoff of Cupid's bow and arrow. Even with this strength, Uriel relies on others. She is saved from Blackbeard's crew by Asterios, a beast-like monster, more commonly known as Minotauros. Together, they flee to their own island and find shelter within a massive labyrinth. That said, they get lost and are unable to find their way out until they encounter Ritsuka's party deep inside. Asterios is stoic, acting as a shield to protect the frail Uriel. He is beaten nearly to death in combat, prompting her to join Ritsuka's crew to save him. On the open seas, it becomes clear that Jason of the Argonauts wishes to kidnap Uriel and sacrifice her to the Ark of the Covenant. To prevent this, Asterios gives his life in battle against Heracles, declaring his love for her as someone who didn't treat him like a monster. His brave deeds help Ritsuka protect Uriel and resolve the singularity. The more irregular summonings occur within Babylonia, however. In the year 2655 BC, Getia interferes by pulling Tiamat from the world of the void. Tiamat, being the second beast of humanity, can conjure other demonic beasts with her skill, Potnia Theron. To prevent her awakening, the Arthurian mage Merlin traps her within a dream, but not before she transfers Getia's Grail into the fallen Enkidu's corpse, reanimating it as a child called Kingu. This child, a new form of humanity, strives to wake Tiamat from her slumber. The same Grail manages to summon the Gorgon, but in a bizarre way. The monstrous, bloodthirsty elements of the Gorgon are summoned in a single Avenger servant, while the protective, innocent elements are summoned as Medusa in her child form, Medusa Lily. When Kingu finds the Gorgon, they restore her divinity and combine her consciousness with that of Tiamat. The Gorgon now believes she is Tiamat's second coming, and uses the acquired Potnia Theron to transform captive humans into demonic beasts. Meanwhile, Medusa Lily wanders the cedar forest, feeding off of slain demons. She wields Arpe into battle, the very blade that beheads her future self. Her noble phantasm is Caress of the Medusa, Embrace of the Goddess, a technique where she gains abilities from her future self.
Okay,
Her
this
mystic
video
eyes
reminds me
freeze her
of
targets,
Anna.
so she can launch a fierce assault upon them. She eventually meets Merlin in the forest, who uses a bit of trickery to convince her to fight alongside him. Medusa Lily wants to defeat Gorgon, and joins Chaldea's party in their fight. Afraid of exposing her identity as part of the same entity as Gorgon, Lily wears a hood and introduces herself as Anna. Demonic beasts continue to attack from the north, threatening the Era, and the city of Uruk in particular. When Gilgamesh orders Ritska's team on a rescue mission to Nippur, Medusa Lily questions whether she should reveal her true identity as a servant of the same ilk as their enemy to her new friends. She is afraid of how humans will mistreat her, as they did in life, and struggles to befriend them. Serving in Uruk, she meets a frail old woman who, due to her blindness, does not discriminate against her. The woman treats Anna with kindness, and in return, receives help cultivating her flowers. This warmth gives Anna courage in fighting for Uruk's sake. En route to Nippur, the party is attacked by Kingu, and the Gorgon erupts from the ground prematurely. She attacks with her hooked claws, hair feelers, and colossal tail, unleashing devastating force with each swing. At long range, she deploys beams of magical energy. Above this, of course, is her noble phantasm, Pandemonium Catus, Forced Seal, Pandemonic Temple, in which she gives up the last vestiges of her sanity, fully succumbing to her monstrous curse, robbing the lives of humans and servants alike. After a harrowing encounter, she retreats to her blood fort, announcing that Uruk will end in 10 days. During this time, Gilgamesh orders his followers to bolster their strength and recruit more heroes. Waiting for the Gorgon's attack, Ritska speaks to Anna atop the north wall. They give her a floral headpiece they received from the old lady before her passing. While Anna feels she does not deserve it, she nonetheless resolves to fighting for both herself and Uruk. Making a preemptive strike, Anna leads a team into the shattered blood fort, confronting the Gorgon, who immediately panics when seeing her. Yes, Gorgon staring upon her younger self is much akin to the nightmares she experienced within Kibisis. In an act of sacrifice, Anna gives her all to slay her monstrous self, causing the two of them to vanish. In honor of her bravery, Ritska places the headpiece as a grave marker. Tragically, Gorgon's defeat merely triggers the awakening of Tiamat, the much more dangerous foe. Tiamat begins spreading a ghastly chaos tide, from which her own demons, the Lamu, are born.
This is when we
Struggling
really
under this
saw
threat,
the real
Ritska's
Tiamat.
party fights to hold the
Yeah,
chaos tide off. On the verge of defeat, they are saved when, surprisingly, Gorgon returns, this time helping Chaldea. Instead of dying, Medusa Lily had formed with the Gorgon to unite both monstrous power and reason. Unleashing Pandemonium Catus, this Gorgon manages to fracture Tiamat's right horn before being vanquished. The act proves instrumental in saving Ritska's life, which leads to Tiamat's ultimate defeat. As Chaldea moves on to its final challenge against Getia at Solomon's Temple of Time, Ritska manages to summon all of the Gorgon sisters and their forms, Medusa, Stheno, Uriel, Gorgon, and Medusa Lily, to fight by their side for the sake of humanity. At long last, these mistreated goddesses are able to move on from their tragedy, working together for a brighter future.
Okay guys, so that's the end of this video, which is Fate Lore, the tale of the Gorgon sisters. And I think it's a very informative video about the history of Gorgon sisters, because I only know a little bit about their history from FGO Babylonia anime. I think it's in episode 9 if I'm not mistaken. After that epic battle between Gorgon and Ushiwakamaru, there was a bit of explanation of these Gorgon sisters, but I didn't know what's their problem with Athena back then. And their story that they were being isolated in that island sounds so sad and tragic. And actually I feel pity for Medusa, because she was turning into monster and she ended up eating the humans and also her sisters too. And after watching this video, I learned that the sisters love and cares for each other, but I hate to hear that Steno and Uriel were bullying Medusa because she was taller and bigger than them. So thanks to Kalia that finally these Gorgon sisters can be reunited again. So thanks for the one who shared the link of the video in the comment section. I really appreciate it. It's a very interesting story of Gorgon sisters. And as usual, if you guys have another video that you want me to react to, just put in the comment section. So thank you guys for watching our video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you again on my next video and take care.